There is great tension in the air these days. I heard that most recently in Boston, Dr. Joseph Warren gave one of his flowery speeches at Old South Meeting House in commemoration of the supposed Boston Massacre of 1770. There was a great tumult in town. There was a regiment that was marching on the street outside. There were people jumping out of windows and running through the door, all needlessly for a commemoration of an event that one would hardly call a massacre. There were 5 that were eventually killed. There were others who were wounded. But they had provoked the soldiers into having to defend themselves. And yet the commemoration takes place every year. Of course, there is tension over the fact that General Gage has been sending his soldiers into the countryside, justifiably securing the king's arms for the defense of this colony. Though the rebellious men, such as Samuel Adams and John Hancock, say that this is being done to disarm a loyal population and that they merely wish to defend themselves, when it is quite clear that it is for rebellion against His Majesty's government. Why else would there be an outlaw provincial government that has been set up instead of the legal government of Governor General Thomas Gage, whom you well know, is the legal governor of this colony, with his counselors. One of them includes, of course, my dear friend Nathaniel Ray Thomas, who has the disapproval, shall we say, of the local population in Marshfield and Duxbury, and perhaps in other towns as well. In fact, I think of him much these days, because it is thanks to Mr. Thomas and several men from Scituate that we are now, in this very town of Marshfield, defended by His Majesty's soldiers under Captain Nesbitt Balfour. The 4th King's Own now resides at his estate and defends the loyal subjects of the crown from this unnecessary, rowdy behavior put on by people of this town, but most decidedly in towns such as Duxbury nearby, where there has been tumult after tumult, which is why the troops were required in the first place. Why, there was actually a burning of tea here 3 days after the so-called destruction of the tea in December of 1773, right here in Marshfield. Tea was stolen from Bourne's Ordinary on the night of the 19th of December. It was also stolen from Deacon Thomas's house, and then at a place that they call so-called Tea Rock Hill, set it ablaze, and then prayed, from what I have heard, to the Almighty for His belief in their so-called cause. And these are townsfolk, people that I have known since I was a boy, and it disturbs me that they have taken on this rebellious bent. Why, we felt it necessary to show General Gage and His Majesty and his government that the responsible people of this town do not believe in such outrageous behavior. Certainly if Father were still alive, he would be opposed to this sort of demonstration by the people. We passed the Marshfield Resolves, protesting the destruction of the tea, demanding those that had destroyed it to pay for that tea. And we have sworn our loyalty to His Majesty's government. There were those in Marshfield who were opposed. Well, the motion passed by only 1 vote. And of course there were tumults through the summer following that. Why, there was one poor gentleman named Jesse Dunbar, who, having bought cattle from Mr. Thomas, was made to go from town to town in a cart with the innards of one of the animals draped about him. The poor man nearly caught his death and had to pay a fee going town to town before he was released. This is what these people believe is a demonstration of liberty? I think not. The troops have been sent here for just this sort of behavior. And that is why they will leave when law and order is restored to Marshfield, to Duxbury, to Boston, to all of the towns in Massachusetts. There's no need to store arms and keep them away from the authorities of the crown. They are they not? Muskets, cannon, powder, ball, are they not all for the defense of this colony of Britain? Therefore, they are the possessions of the crown. It is a foolish argument. I, of course, moderated a town meeting after that summer in which we defended our belief that His Majesty's government, with General Gage as the royal governor of Massachusetts Bay, is justified, and that this provincial congress that has been set up by Dr. Warren and by others through these Suffolk Resolves is an outlaw body. This provincial congress has no bearing. It is not a legal government, as General Gage has said. And yet these people insist that they should meet and that they are the governing body of Massachusetts Bay. I was moderator for that meeting in which, well, perhaps it was because of the soldiers being at Mr. Thomas's estate, that we were able to have calmer heads pass that resolution against the provincial government. And yet the tension increases. We hear of expeditions that General Gage has sent that were opposed. Why, at the beginning of this past September, General Gage sent soldiers to secure powder and cannon just outside of Boston. And though they were successful in their venture, the following day there were militia regiments that were marching all the way from Connecticut on their way to Boston. I heard that the Congress, the illegal Congress meeting in Philadelphia, thought that there were men that were killed during this exchange, and there was nothing of the sort. In fact, there was no exchange at all. Needlessly provoked, the people eventually did return to their homes, but as I've said time and time again, calmer heads must prevail. These men, such as Samuel Adams and John Hancock and Dr. Joseph Warren, a fellow doctor, I must say, needlessly rile up the people and cause disturbances in Boston, and now even here in Marshfield. If the soldiers were not here, though I believe that I would be left alone and my family would be left alone, I do have family in Boston, mind you. It is Nathaniel Ray Thomas, our dear friend, who I worry about the most. Though I have been a moderator of one of these meetings of the town, and so has he, I have always thought it best, as Father has taught me, to keep a calm head and not to rage against the people, but to show calmness. That is not always the case with Mr. Thomas. Mr. Thomas is outraged by the way the people have behaved. He is a counselor of General Gage, and he has been considered by his own townsfolk to be some sort of an outlaw, as if he is breaking some law when the legally appointed governor of this colony legally appointed him as counselor. And yet there are people who believe he should be placed under arrest. There are people that believe he should be tormented in public. Fortunately, we have His Majesty's soldiers here. And though it is not permanent, it has brought calm to this town. Though I fear that the moment the troops are returned to Boston, because I'm quite sure that General Gage will be in need of them, that there will be more unrest here in the future. I fear for our future in the peace of this town, in the peace of Massachusetts Bay itself. The future frightens me, because these people in towns such as Duxbury seem to want some sort of a confrontation with His Majesty's soldiers. And we've already seen what bloodshed can do in this colony.